Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and we've got a full Rams-Texans Week 1 preview. I hope you're ready, Texans fans, because we are coming out of the gates hot in 2025. Weekly live shows now coming to you from Texans Today, and I just have to say, thank you to each and every single one of you. We are one of the fastest growing channels here at Chat Sports, and because of that, the bosses said, hey, let's go live on Wednesdays. Let's get it popping. So if you are ready for some Texans live action every Wednesday and every game day, let me see those H's down in the comment section, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for y'all. Y'all made this happen, so I appreciate each and every single one of y'all. We're here. We're live on Wednesdays. We have a producer in studio, my man Casey on the ones and twos, doing everything he can, helping us out. So really appreciate all y'all. Drop those H's as I see Evan McGinley, John Garcia, a.k.a. Mr. Buddha, Quentin Ford, JJ Sugar, Noah Suavemente, DQ, all in the chat. How are we feeling? Coming up on the live show today, I got the keys to victory up against the LA Rams. Got a pretty stacked episode for our first live show of the year. Got the keys to victory. One player that will surprise everyone in the NFL. Maybe not surprise you if you've been watching the program this offseason. Also, ESPN has some wild predictions. And then, into the show, we're doing a mailbag. Use hashtag Texans, or you could super chat. I already saw, who was it in there earlier? I already saw Julia Ford get in with the hashtag Texans. So if you want to get in the mailbag, comment and use hashtag Texans in your comment. We can get you up on screen. And we have our first super chat already. Evan McGinley. Oh, awesome. And actually, Evan, we have a special deal on today's show, but since you were the first person to super chat, I'm going to give you a ticket regardless. And you're going to be pretty pumped whenever I tell you what ticket you just got, Evan. But for the first super chat, you're going to get a ticket for our raffle going on this month. Yeah, we have a month-long raffle. $5 super chats, autographed Nico Collins picture. So if you want a dope picture, I'll show you what it is in just a second. $5 super chat, but Evan, since you're number one, the first person to super in today's show, I'm giving you a ticket for the $2 one. And if you're wondering, Chuggs, what are we talking about? Tell me this wouldn't look absolutely insane in your man cave. This wouldn't look awesome in your office. A autographed, officially licensed Nico Collins picture of him coming out of the tunnel. I think this is one of the cleanest pictures I've seen out there, and it's autographed by Nico, number 12 himself. So $5 super chat. We're going to do that all month long. Every $5 you spend is another raffle ticket into the Nico Collins autograph raffle. We'll do that at the very end of the month, but got to play to win it. Got to be in it to win it. So if you want a chance to win that at the end of the month, $5 super chats all month going towards that Nico Collins autograph picture. Any super chat at all will get you up on screen. We'll let you voice your opinion, ask your question, and then the top 3 XP getters in today's show. So as I'm looking, you'll see on the top right, it'll say top fans, Evan McGinley, Mr. Buddha, Santana, a.k.a. Mr. Suavemente. The top 3, we're going to give you free raffle tickets for Sunday. We're doing another giveaway with a CJ Stroud Funko Pop on Sunday. So if you want a free ticket for that raffle coming on Sunday, the top 3 XP getters will get that bad boy. But I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Nice. What are the specs on on the Nico Collins picture, the specs? I believe it's 8x10. I might be wrong, but I'm 95% sure it's an 8x10. Let me look right here. Yep, 8x10. So I think it's not too crazy, but up in your, like on your desk, in your man cave, wherever you want to put it, hell yeah. John Garcia, heck yeah, I have a Hopkins Funko Pop. Hey, you can add to it with the CJ Stroud one this weekend. As Casey, you can throw yourself up on screen. My guy on the ones and twos, helping me make it all happen today. How we feeling?
I have an idea for the photo. Bedside, you have a bedside table? Go to bed every night? Say good night, Nico.
Say good
night, Nico.
Hey, always open.
Always open.
12, always open. Always open, 12. And speaking of 12, speaking of the Texans and speaking of week 1, what is it, 48 hours away? Not even. We're 24 hours away. As of right now, 24 hours away from the start of the regular season. So I want to hear your predictions down below. How many games will the Texans win this year? ESPN, they didn't predict a lot of games for the Texans. I thought it was a pretty low prediction by ESPN.
I thought so too.
Let me know, though, how many games do you think the Texans will win? I don't want to give up my prediction. Well, I already did give out my schedule prediction.
Did you?
Earlier in the offseason. What do you think, though? Out of the 17 games that the Texans play in the regular season, Casey, how many games do you foresee Houston winning? As I see Steven says 13, Cosmo says 12, Samuel says 12, DQ says 13.
I mean, this is a team that won a playoff game later. Like, where's the big difference from last year to this year for me to say this is not going to be another very good to great team? Like, what's happened for me to not say that? Nothing, in my opinion.
I think it's one of those things where it's the same reason why LeBron didn't win more MVPs, why Jokic doesn't win multiple MVPs in a row, is that people get bored. People don't want to see the Texans win another AFC South championship. People want to, they want to go outside the box and say, oh, it's the chalk pick for the Texans to win it in the AFC South. I'd rather pick the Jags, or I'd rather pick this team or that team, and I think that's what it is. I think a lot of people around the NFL, they want to be fancy, they want to stand out, so they want to kind of dog on the Texans a little bit. Hey, their loss, I see the Texans as a clear three-peat.
If I needed to throw a number out there, I'm giving them double-digit wins.
Yeah.
I'm giving them at least 10 wins. So
I had
I'm
them
put
winning
it at
12.
10.
I had them winning 12 this year, so we'll see. Another super chat, though, from Evan. Getting another ticket for that Nico Collins autograph picture. My guy, Evan McGinley, killing the game early. He says, give me the Texans money line. We're making Matt Stafford our Bucky? Is that maybe Bucky? We're making Matthew Stafford our Bucky this week.
Bucky?
Honestly, I don't want the Texans in anyone's top 10. Sleep on us. F everyone else.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's what that is.
Noah Santana, my prediction for the Texans this year, my way too early record prediction, it was 12-4-1. I'll just say that. It was 12-4-1.
I love the one. Just in case they tie.
Dude, if they tie,
you're a genius.
If they tie, everybody's coming back to this channel immediately. Every
genius.
single person coming back to this channel immediately. And as I mentioned before, 24 hours away from the kickoff of the NFL season. It's going to be Thursday Night Football, Eagles, Cowboys. And I want to hear, because funny enough, Casey, our boy Casey, is a little bit of a Cowboys lover. So,
Hey.
Who you got? Hey. Eagles, Cowboys, week 1, first game of the regular season. Type E for the Eagles, type C for the Dallas Cowgirls. Do you have any hope for tomorrow?
There is some hope. There's a little bit of hope.
Even after trading Micah?
Not defensively.
Yeah.
Not defensively. Absolutely not. But offensively, after trading for a guy like George Pickens, we're hoping to see some improvement in the passing game. And Dak Prescott owns the Philadelphia Eagles in his career. I'm hoping he can go out there and put out a solid performance. But I'm not saying it's going to be a Cowboys win. I'm not saying that. Or am I?
Please, somebody clip that for later on.
Or am I?
Can we please clip the Dak Prescott owns the Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh, what's his record against the Eagles? Like 8-4? 8-3? I think that's ownership, if you ask me.
Ownership, okay.
If you ask me.
Okay. I don't know. I have the Eagles winning the first game of the regular season. I don't see a lot of hope for the Dallas Cowgirls, especially with, a lot of people are trying to say, they got better with the run game, adding Kenny Clark on defense.
No.
But I just don't see them stopping Saquon. I don't
No
see
one
it.
can stop Saquon. They're not going to stop him. Hell no. Their only chance is the offense looks good and can outscore the Philadelphia Eagles, which, again, not a great shot there, but that's the only shot they have.
And, Evan, I said it last year. Dallas, they can be America's team. But the Texans, they are Texas's team. They are the great state, the great nation once. The great once nation of Texas. It's owned by the Houston Texans, 100%. 100%. I would say the Texans run the state of Texas, and it runs through Houston, Texas, the 832, the 281. You know what it is. All right, before we get into the segments on today's show, I will talk a little bit about some stuff that happened at practice because the Texans did go out there and practice today. It was a light workout, and they had a little bit of a media session afterwards. Let's start with the photo, and then let's go to the List 4 logo of stuff that happened today at practice. So first of all, there were some more roster moves. They continue to tinker with the practice squad. Here were the 3 moves that they made, adding guys, and then obviously they had to release/waive 3 other guys to make room on the practice squad. The guys that they signed, Silas Bolden, I already talked about that on the show the other day. Wide receiver, rookie from the University of Texas, a good slot guy/punt returner. Very interesting move there. Even though I said the Texans probably wouldn't go ahead and sign one of these guys from the Patriots, they proved me wrong once again. Nick Caserio, he can't help himself by looking at those old Patriots. It's the meme of the guy looking back, and it's a former Patriots offensive lineman. Nick Caserio can't get enough, so they went ahead and signed City Sal. He's a big guard, 6'5", 318 pounds, third year out of Eastern Michigan. He played with the Patriots last year. Was not good. And then Texans fans, close your ears because I saw my where were you? Julia Ford. Why did the Texans bring back D'Angelo Ross to the practice squad? Well, Julia, it's because the Texans are all about relationships. The front office, the coaching staff, they like guys that they know. They like guys that they can trust. And regardless of how D'Angelo Ross has played, and I know he hasn't played that well, for some reason, this Texans front office, this Texans coaching staff has a level of trust in D'Angelo Ross. So I know he's not on the active roster, but still on the practice squad, they feel comfortable with D'Angelo Ross bringing him up on game day because he's kind of done this song and dance with the Texans before. He was on the practice squad, off the practice squad, on the active roster, off the active roster last year. So they bring D'Angelo Ross back to the practice squad. Then they had to release 3 guys. Reed Holsky, a short-lived stint with the Texans, was, I believe, on the practice squad for like a week. Tackle, rookie out of Miami, Ohio, but I believe he played mostly on the interior during training camp and during the preseason. He is now off. Casey Osai, linebacker from Louisiana. Brother, I believe Osai from the Cincinnati Bengals, another linebacker. Casey Osai, though, I thought he played decently, but it looks like they picked Jackson Woodard over Casey Osai between the 2 UDFAs. And then this one was a little bit surprising to me. Jaylen Thomas, a guard tackle flex, second year out of SMU. At the beginning of training camp in the preseason, he was somebody who was somewhat of a standout in Texans practice, right? A lot of people reporting he looked pretty good there at the backup guard spot, backup tackle spot. They end up letting him go as well. So it looks like they feel more comfortable in adding somebody like a City Sal than Jaylen Thomas or a Reed Holsky. Now, for Texans practice, like I said, not a lot happened today. A little bit of a walkthrough, but just some highlights. And mostly who was there and who wasn't. CJ Gardner-Johnson back at practice. And DeMeco Ryans after practice even went as far to say that there is no limitations for CJ Gardner-Johnson week 1. There's no snap count. There's nothing that will hold him back from playing the entire game up against the LA Rams. The only thing DeMeco Ryans said that needs to kind of work out a little bit is the communication on the back end between him, Kalen Bullock, and then the corners, Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley. So, really good news. Apparently, miraculous, recovery from injury, CJ Gardner-Johnson, because, he was out there. He looked pretty decent. In drills, as decent as you can look, picking up footballs in fumble drills and kind of doing, a little work on the side. He was there. Blake Fisher also returned from practice. He hurt his ankle in that, I believe it was the final preseason game, or maybe it was the second. No, it was the second to last because it was up against the Panthers. It was the second preseason game. Blake Fisher hurt his ankle. Now he's back at practice, so he's good to go. The backup swing tackle for this Texans team alongside Cam Robinson. Interesting to see how they move forward because Cam Robinson had a lot of trade rumors around him going into roster cutdown day. I don't foresee those trade rumors going down, especially if a couple teams have really bad week 1, week 2s with their offensive lines. I'm looking at you, the Chicago Bears. Their left tackle is atrocious. Maybe the Texans are holding out Cam Robinson and saying, we could maybe get a 3rd or 4th round pick for this guy if the timing's right and the deal's right. 2 guys not at practice, though, both slot receivers, Christian Kirk and Braxton Berrios, don't have any more news yet on why they missed. Don't have the injury report out just yet either. If it does come out during this live show, obviously I'll get the photo. I'll put it up here on screen and we can all talk about the injury report for the Houston Texans. But these 2 guys not at practice today. So we'll have to see how that goes. I really would love to see Christian Kirk out there. If week 1 we don't have Christian Kirk, I'll be definitely a little disappointed because everything that I've heard from my people at Texans practice inside the facility is that Christian Kirk has built a really good rapport with CJ Stroud. And we know Nico Collins, he can take the top off of a defense. He's great deep ball. But Christian Kirk works in between, the line of scrimmage, 10-yard, that marker. He's great at finding the open spot in the zone, sitting down, able to, be a sure-handed guy for CJ Stroud. And then Braxton Berrios, obviously, in the return game, is another guy you have to look at. Quick reminder, though, if you want to get on today's show, we're going to do a mailbag later on. I want to hear from you folks at home. So hashtag Texans or Super Chat to get on the show. We'll be able to put you up on screen, answer your questions. If you just want to say something about the week 1 matchup, if you want to, let me know about anything, hashtag Texans, Super Chat, $5 Super Chats, by the way. You get in our month-long raffle for a signed, autographed Nico Collins picture. Absolutely awesome. So, I think we're almost ready to get going. We are, how many? 8 likes away? Let's get to 50 likes and we can start the show. We are 8 likes away. Spam those H's if you already like the video. Make sure, when you come into somebody's house, you got to wipe them feet. You got to wipe them feet, take off them shoes, just like that. It's very easy. Just come into the live show, hit the like button, and let's get rocking and rolling. Once we get to 50 likes, we'll be able to go into our first segment on today's show. Once again, I appreciate everybody who's stopping by, who is coming into today's program, because last year we didn't have weekly live shows, but because of y'all, because of this channel's growth, because how awesome this fan base is, and honestly, this community on YouTube, we're able to do live shows now. So I appreciate each and every single one of y'all. If y'all could, whenever you stop in, just hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and let's have a great time rooting on our Houston Texans and getting ready for Texans week 1, as I think we blew by that 50th like number. Jacob Ward said 50th like. Let's freaking go. I'm here for it. Drop those H's if you already liked today's video. Coming up on today's program, the first segment, we're going to do keys to victory up against the LA Rams. I'll give you my 5 keys and tell you why I feel pretty good about the Texans' chances going into week 1. First one is Prize Picks, by the way. And I think we're all about ready to go. So let's get into the first segment on today's show, the keys to victory up against the LA Rams. Week 1 is here, ladies and gentlemen. Texans versus Rams. And I am here for it. Going to give you the keys to victory. What do the Texans have to do to take down the LA Rams in SoFi Stadium? Week 1, this Sunday. And we got a midday kickoff, 3:25. Should be pretty interesting. So coming up, I have my keys to victory on how the Texans can beat the LA Rams, the Sean McVay-led Rams, the Matthew Stafford-led Rams this Sunday. First up on my keys to victory, talking about Matthew Stafford, you gotta bring the pressure. You gotta bring the heat to Matthew Stafford. One, I've been talking maybe ad nauseum for some of y'all about Matthew Stafford's back injury this offseason. He had to have epidurals for him to be able to practice, for him to be able to move around, and it's been a tough offseason for Matthew Stafford. He's getting up there in age, close to the 40-year mark. So, if the Texans' defensive line can really get after Matthew Stafford, that will be huge for this Texans defense. And we all know the Texans' defensive line, one of the best in the entire National Football League. Whenever you look at this unit from top to bottom, they are awesome. Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter, They need to get after Matthew Stafford and make him uncomfortable. I want to make sure that Matthew Stafford doesn't have any breathing room going into this year. I want to make sure that he is able to, not really feel comfortable at all. Because last year, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and those are decent numbers, right? Decent numbers. But here are his numbers under pressure, right? Last year, 2024 passing stats under pressure. 47.9 completion percentage, 952 yards, 4 touchdowns to 6 interceptions when he was under pressure. And this Texans defense loves to take the ball away. So if they can pressure Stafford, make him uncomfortable, make him move out of the pocket with that back injury, I think that is one of the biggest keys to victory for this Texans team. The defensive line, Will Anderson Jr., even on the interior, with guys like a Sheldon Rankins, a Mario Edwards Jr., if they can cause havoc and make Stafford uncomfortable, make him move around, the better chance the Texans defense has of getting takeaways and preventing this Rams offense from moving the ball down the field. So I want to hear from you at home. How many sacks will the Texans defense get on Sunday? My magic number for the Texans, if they can get 5 sacks on Matthew Stafford, I think it's a big dub for Houston. Let me know down in the comment section what you're thinking, though. If you get hit with the YouTube ad break, all good. Scroll on down and let me know. How many sacks will the Texans defense get on Sunday up against Matthew Stafford? All right, number 1, pressure on Stafford. Number 2, no big plays. And probably goes without saying, you don't want to let the deep ball go. You don't want to let this Rams offense get big plays on you. But there's actually more numbers to this than you think. First of all, we got to look at the Rams wide receivers. Davante Adams, one of the newest members of the LA Rams this offseason. Last year, 85 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. We all know Davante Adams, even though he's getting up there in age, still a very good wide receiver and a very good receiving threat for this Rams offense to pair with Puka Nacua. Both these guys offer a great 1-2 punch for the Rams. Matthew Stafford, he's going to be looking at Puka Nacua, looking at Davante Adams to go over the top. But the one thing that really hinders this Rams offense is actually the red zone. If the Texans can make sure that the Rams don't score on any long plays and get them, if the offense moves the ball, okay. But if they get them inside the red zone, that was Matthew Stafford's Achilles heel last year. These were his stats in 2024, passing inside the 10-yard line. Out of 47 quarterbacks in the NFL, Matthew Stafford was 41st in success rate, 13% passing inside the 10-yard line. 40th in EPA per attempt, negative 1.14. So that's expected points added per attempt. He's in the negatives. And then 39th in completion rate, 29% passing inside the 10-yard line. So the Texans, they love to gamble. They love to try to get those takeaways. But it might be better to be a bend not break defense up against this Rams offense because they had some red zone ineptitude last year. They were not good. So if the Texans can take away the deep ball, take away the big plays from the Rams, and make them methodically move the ball down the field and try to score a touchdown inside the 10-yard line, that's not this Rams defense. This Rams offense. That's not their game. That's not where they, excel. They like to score long bombs. They like to score 20, 30, 40-yard touchdowns. Inside the 10-yard line, they're definitely not as good. So if the Texans defense can limit those long touchdown plays and force the Rams to punch it in inside the 10, I think you'll see a lot of field goals by the LA Rams this Sunday. Now, coming up, a major key around this guy right here, Kyren Williams. The Rams running back got paid this offseason, but does he have a little bit of a tell? I'll look into the deep analytics and tell you what the Texans have to look at when it comes to Kyren Williams. But today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Football season, it is here. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day. But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss out on any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money today. And Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. And if you're looking at Prize Picks right now and you're like, Jeremy, I don't even know where to start. Well, here's my lineup for this week. CJ Stroud, 11.5 rush yards. I think he needs to use his legs a little bit more. So give me the more on that. Matthew Stafford, 0.5 interceptions. Give me the more on that. And Nick Chubb, 43.5 rush yards. Give me the more on that. You can use my lineup or go ahead and make your own over at Prize Picks today. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, 2 keys so far. Let's look at the third one. And I talked about the Rams running back Kyren Williams, and I think he might have a little bit of a tell. You got to force Kyren Williams left. And I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but when you look at the numbers from last year, he had a lot more success running to the right side than he did the left side. Here's his numbers in 2024. Kyren Williams, running to the left, 633 yards, 9 touchdowns, a little bit of an anomaly because it was kind of center left on the touchdowns, but I'll give it that on the touchdowns. 40 first downs and 13 plays of 10-plus yards. Now, running to the right, 848 yards, 5 touchdowns, 51 first downs, and 18 plays of 10-plus yards. And whenever you look at this Rams offensive line, their better guys are on the right side. They paid Kevin Dotson, the right guard, a ton of money. They also have Rob Havenstein, the right tackle, who is a good run blocker. Alaric Jackson, the left tackle, has been dealing with a lot of injuries this offseason, was on the injury report, should be good to go week 1. But you look at this Rams offensive line, their strength is on the right side. So if you can stop that running to the right, if you could really force him to run left, I think that's a big key for this Texans defense when stopping Kyren Williams and this Rams rushing attack. He got paid this offseason, but the Texans linebackers, if they can kind of key in on that and say, hey, we don't want to let him run to the right, I think that could be a big key for this Texans defense. All right, let's look at the Texans offense now with our last 2 keys. Take what the defense gives. And I think this is a big part of not only CJ Stroud, but this entire Texans offense. Last year, I feel like they were just forcing it way too often. And we talked about the Rams being bad in the red zone on offense, right? They were actually bad in the red zone on defense as well. The Rams defense in 2024 ranked 9th in big pass plays allowed, 16th in big run plays allowed. So top half of the league in not allowing big plays in the pass and on the run. But in the red zone, the Rams were 21st in red zone defense last year. So that's bottom half of the league. So if I'm looking at the Houston Texans, I know they like to take the top off of a defense. I know they like the Nico Collins deep ball. But with CJ Stroud, with this offense, with new OC Nick Caley, you might have to be, taking what the defense gives you, be comfortable with not going deep every single play and not forcing it. But maybe if you have a, 18-yard deep post that maybe CJ Stroud can fit it in, or you have a running back in the flat that can get you for sure 5 or 6 yards, maybe you take the running back. Maybe you take the guaranteed 5-6 yards instead of trying to force the ball down the field and get 20-25 yards. I think the Texans offense under Nick Caley, we're going to see a little bit of change in philosophy than they had with Bobby Slowick last year. And I think it's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. We all like the long ball. Chicks dig the long ball. We all like the deep pass to Nico Collins. But sometimes you just have to take what the defense gives you. And I know it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. Because it's something you're supposed to do, and it kind of fits, especially with what the Texans are going to be facing this Sunday with the LA Rams. So I gave you 4 keys to victory. I have 1 more, and I think it might be my biggest key to victory maybe this weekend and maybe moving forward for the rest of the season. Before I give you mine, though, what is your biggest key to victory for the Texans? I see over 150 people in our live chat right now. Go down in the comment section and let me know. What is your biggest key to victory for the Texans this Sunday up against the LA Rams? All right, my final key to victory for the Texans, CJ Stroud needs to get his swagger back. Last year, we didn't see it until the playoffs. We didn't see, CJ Stroud. We saw the early bits of it, through the first 6 weeks of the season. He looked comfortable. He looked good. He liked having Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, all those guys. But midway through the season, going towards the end of the year, he didn't look comfortable. He didn't look like himself. We didn't see that spark that we saw from rookie year C.J. Stroud. He's got to get his swagger back. I want to see him throwing the ball to Nico Collins and hitting this to the camera. I want to see him having fun out there. And I think that's one of the biggest things that C.J. Stroud, this offense, got away from. And I know it's hard to say, like, have fun. These guys are getting paid millions of dollars. But at some level, you have to have some fun. For you to be able to be at your best, for you to perform at your best, you have to be in a good mood. You have to be having a good time. And last year, to put it lightly, C.J. Stroud was not having a good time. So I want to see this offense be a little bit more balanced, get C.J. Stroud in a rhythm, and let him cook, because we all know C.J. has the ability to be a top 5 quarterback in this league whenever he's at the height of his powers. We just need the offensive line to hold up, and we need CJ to get that swagger back. That's all I have for you on this episode of Texans Today. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, you can do so. My DMs are always open at Jeremy Chuggs. And if you made it to the end of today's show, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Free Texans content all year long. Weekly live shows now and watch parties. I'll be live this Sunday for Texans versus Rams. All right. First segment out of the way. I see DQ in the comment section saying Nick Chubb fitting a feast on the Rams. A sequel Tovar run game has more than 150 yards in week 1. Jacob Ward says no offensive penalties. That's going to be a big one as well. Jacob Heil says getting our O-line in check. CJ Stroud sounded very confident in this Texans offensive line going into this week 1. And DQ said the O-line will be more better than last year with the reps. I tend to agree. I want to hear from you, though. I said the biggest key was C.J. Stroud getting that swagger back. So, how do we feel about C.J. Stroud going into this season? I feel like a lot of people are mixed bag on C.J. Stroud right now. Rookie year, everybody was ready to anoint him the king of the young quarterbacks. Everybody was ready to say C.J. Stroud is the next hot ticket item. And it kind of is like with cars, the new model came out in Jaden Daniels, and now everybody's like, CJ Stroud, who? He sucks. I think a lot of people have forgotten how good CJ Stroud is. They don't watch all the plays, all the snaps that CJ does. And people forget very easily how amazing he was his rookie season. And the fact that a rookie year CJ Stroud, a team that had the number 2 pick, that's where they took CJ, the number 2 pick.
And then they traded up for the 3 pick, right?
Yeah, with Will Anderson.
Yes.
The year before, they were picking at number 2. The year after, the Texans won a playoff game with C.J. Stroud.
And a rookie head coach.
And a rookie head coach as well. With DeMeco Ryans. Wavy says C.J. Stroud breakout season easily. I agree. I think C.J. Stroud, once it's all said and done, people are going to say without a doubt C.J. Stroud is a top 10 quarterback after this season. I think if everything goes to plan, if the Texans' offensive line and kind of offensive strategy, their scheme works, much better this year, I think C.J. Stroud can be a top 10 quarterback. And especially, you know what motivates people more than anything, Casey?
Money?
Dollar bills.
Dollar!
C.J. Stroud is eligible for a contract extension after this season.
Oh, it's time.
So if you don't think C.J.'s locked in, ready to get that bag, you have another thing coming. I think in a contract year, in a year with a new OC, he wants to prove that the Texans are able to get over that hump. And I just really want to see the Texans, for the first time ever in franchise history, make it to an AFC championship game and, knock on wood, God willing, a Super Bowl.
So can we say breakout season, though? Because his rookie season, he kind of broke out. That's
true.
Can we say bounce back? Because people were downing his play last year.
Maybe offensive player of the year. I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know. Just a quick reminder, we do have a lot more people in the live show than at the very beginning. So, once again, welcome to everybody. We're actually 11 likes away from 100 likes. Can we get to 100 likes on today's show? We got over 150 people in the building. Can we get to 100 likes? We're close. We're pretty close there. I feel like we can get it 6 likes away. I appreciate everybody for rocking and rolling with us here on Texans Today. Our first live show of the year, and expect it all season long. Wednesday live shows from here on out. We will be rocking and rolling, except for after the Texans play on Monday Night Football. It's my wife's 30th birthday, so I'm going to be taking her out to a nice little vacation for that week after the Texans play on Monday night. So we'll miss that Wednesday. But every Wednesday after that, we'll be live here on the channel. We'll be ready to rock and roll. Condition-based! My guy, as we're 2 likes away from 100, my guy, Condition-based, sending in the super chat. That means you get a ticket for our Nico Collins autograph raffle. I'll put you in there. Right now, it's you and my guy, Evan McGinley. Condition based says Chad with the midweek magic. Hey, we're here. Wednesday shows are popping from here on out. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you're here and you're ready to go, because we are going to have a great time all year long. And for those of y'all who are just now joining us, we do have a month-long giveaway going on. And I think you're going to want to be a part of it. Because we have a great giveaway on tap for you. It is going to be a Nico Collins signed autographed picture. And I think it looks pretty dope, if you ask me. Any super chat, obviously you get on screen. And then $5 for the Nico Collins autographed picture. Also, that full screen, if you want to kind of condense it. Yeah. If you want to condense that for the next one. I think that'll be fine. But this is what the autograph picture looks like for Nico Collins. $5 raffle tickets. Every 5 you spend is another raffle ticket. We're going to do this drawing at the end of the month. But if you want a chance to win this autographed, officially licensed Nico Collins picture, I had to pick this. My boss said, hey, you can do a month-long giveaway. Just let us know what you want to do. I was scouring the internet. I was looking around. This was actually one of my favorite things that I found, was this Nico Collins autograph picture. I think it looks absolutely sick. So if you want a chance to win this bad boy, every $5 super chat that you spend, you're in on the raffle. And you know what? First live show, I'm feeling a little nice today. I'm feeling a little nicey. So I'm going to do this. If you're subscribed, you like the video, and you're typing H down below, I'm going to give away 2 free tickets right now for the Nico Collins autograph picture. All you got to do, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you like the video, and spam those H's down below in the comment section. I'm going to give away 2 free tickets right now because, hey, it's our first live show of the season. I'm ready to get down. And a reminder also, if you send in a super chat, if you want to get on our mailbag later, hashtag Texans or super chat to get in. As I see John Garcia, a.k.a. Mr. Buddha, says, put me in that thing. Put me in that thing. And you know what? Just for being one of the first people here, Julia Ford, you're getting a free one. And I'm going to give away 1 more free ticket. Who wants it? All you got to do, like the video. So make sure you're subscribed and spam those H's down below. And I see, let's go with Tyler Kentz. Tyler Kentz, I'm giving you a free ticket for this Nico Collins autographed raffle. I'm going to do it at the end of the month. So you have all month long to get in your raffle tickets. We'll see who wins it. It's only $5 for a ticket. So if you want a chance to win it, I promise you that autographed Nico Collins picture worth a lot more than $5. So you want to check it out? Hey, do so. Wavy with the super chat. You know what? I'm feeling nice too. Wavy, I'm putting you in as well, Wavy. Going to that Monday night game versus the Bucs. Hell yeah! Dude, I'm pumped for that. It's a doubleheader too. Week 2 Monday night, it's a doubleheader. The Texans play the Bucs at 6 o'clock, and then I believe, what is it? Raiders play... Oh, I should know this. Raiders play the Commanders. Oh, wait, no. They play the Chargers at 9. Raiders play the Chargers at 9 o'clock on that same Monday. So we'll have a little bit of a doubleheader. Actually, Casey will be the guy here with me for that Texans Monday Night Watch Party. It'll be a blast.
Oh, we're going to have a good time. It's going to be a great time.
Do we do something with Pirates? Do we do a super chat thing with Pirates, maybe? I don't know.
We'll think of something.
Maybe walk the plank? I don't know.
We'll think of something, guys. Don't worry about it.
And I agree, 21 Savage. I hate the fact that the NFL has games at 9 o'clock, though. I get that they're both West Coast teams, and technically for most Raiders, Chargers fans, it would start at 7 o'clock because they're 2 hours behind us. But, I mean, you think of the East Coast. East Coast people, they're not going to tune into a game that starts at 10 o'clock.
This isn't the NBA.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
It's absolutely
ridiculous. What are we doing?
It's absolutely ridiculous. Jacob Ward says, have to wait until 5 a.m. to watch them play here in Japan. That is a struggle, my brother. That is a struggle.
Hey, I was born in Japan. If you're willing to share, you know Misawa? You know of Misawa, Japan?
You were born in Japan?
I was born in Misawa, Japan. Yeah, Misawa. My dad's in the Air Force. Okay?
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, Misawa is where I am from. Drop in the chat if you know where that is or if you're close to it or whatever. Japan! Let's go!
Japan!
Japan!
All the way from Japan! There we go. Hell yeah. I did not know that. Konnichiwa. All right. We have 3 more segments on tap for today's show. So let's get into this next one. The first one was the keys to victory. Now, one player that is going to be the X factor. He says he's here in Okinawa.
Oh, I know Okinawa too.
Isn't that where I think that was where Karate Kid 2 was.
That's a very popular Air Force base as well.
Actually,
as in Okinawa.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob Ward. Isn't Okinawa it's like different than Japan, or is that somewhere else?
Dude, you're asking. I am not qualified to answer this.
From my geographical knowledge, I think Okinawa is
an
like
island. Isn't
I
it?
think it's technically its own thing. It's like kind of like Puerto Rico in the U.S.
Jacob, are we on track here? Are we completely?
I think that's
off
what it
base?
is. I think that's what it is. Anyways, before I get too sidetracked, the next segment on tap, one X Factor player that's going to surprise everyone, including maybe some Texans fans going into this year. We're going to start off with the breaking ribbon in the photo. Yeah. Brandon says, legitimate thoughts on Tank return this season. That's a good question. If you have any questions like that, Brandon, make sure that you use hashtag Texans, and then we'll be able to put you in our mailbag later. So I like the question, Brandon, but in that same comment, copy that comment, paste it down below, and at the end of that comment, just put hashtag Texans. That makes it easier for our producer, Casey. Whenever you put hashtag Texans, it basically goes into our data puller, and then Casey is able to basically pull your questions much easier. So all good. Casey's getting set up with this next segment. We're going to be doing one X Factor player that can surprise everyone. And I think some of y'all might agree with me, some of y'all might not, but I think this is a point of where Texans fans should be more optimistic. And I think sometimes Texans fans, we get a little pessimistic, and probably for good reason. It should be down there. Yeah, that's fine. All right. We're going to talk about the X Factor for the Houston Texans. The X Factor. And why Texans fans should be more optimistic about him and this Texans offense going into 2025. Are you ready, Casey? All right, here we go. Second segment here on Texans Today Live. Every single person is worried about the Texans' run game and Nick Chubb. Rightfully so. He was awesome last year for the Houston Texans, and he's out for the first 4 weeks, at least the first 4 weeks as of right now, of the 2025 season. But fear not, Texans fans. This guy right here, Nick Chubb. I think he can be the guy that can help this Texans offense propel and be much better than they were last year. So I'm going to give you 5 reasons to be optimistic about Chubb. Let's all get chubbed up this season for this Texans run game. And I want to hear from you. Love playing a little Madden in my day. What overall grade would you give Nick Chubb right now as the Texans starting running back? Scale it 1 to 100. You know how Madden works. If you're 100, you're absolutely beast mode, one of the best players in the game. If you're 1, you're probably a long snapper or you're probably a backup punter. Let me know down though. Be honest. What would be your Madden grade for Nick Chubb right now going into the 2025 season? All right, here's 5 reasons why you got to be optimistic about Nick Chubb. The Texans, they've been prepping all off season for Joe Mixon potentially not playing. You know, it was a non-football injury that landed Joe Mixon on the sidelines to start the year. And the Texans were aware of that. Even though they, Nick Caserio, DeMeco Ryans, they're G's, they move in silence like lasagna, they knew about this. They just didn't tell anybody. So they knew Joe Mixon wasn't good. They knew that he had some setbacks with his recovery. And they've been prepping for it. They went out and they drafted Woody Marks, who I think is a sneaky good pick. They brought in Nick Chubb in free agency. They kept Dameon Pierce on the squad when they could have let him go. So I think the Texans, they were prepared and they were ready for Joe Mixon to potentially not be there for the start of the season. They kind of loaded up this running back room. And need I mention also, Texans on Wednesday named their team captains. You want to know who was a team captain for this Texans squad? The 4th running back, Dare Agumbawale, who helps out in special teams. He's our emergency kicker. He's a kind of do-it-all back for this Texans team. He's, fit here, fit there, fit everywhere. He's a captain for this squad. So I feel like the Texans running back room, even though everybody's kind of low on them, I think the Texans feel somewhat good about where they're at right now, even without Joe Mixon as the RB1. Number 2, Nick Chubb was elite, ladies and gentlemen. If you can go back in your time machine, go back about 3 or 4 years, Nick Chubb was getting taken in every first round of every fantasy draft. He was one of the best running backs in the entire National Football League whenever he was running for the Cleveland Browns. So I think if you're looking at Nick Chubb and if you're looking at how he's played in the past, I think it's okay, right? Nick Chubb is somebody who is a 1,000+ yard rusher multiple seasons in a row for the Cleveland Browns. And I think he doesn't have to be that same guy. He doesn't have to be somebody who is, a 1,500 yard rusher. He doesn't have to be that Superman guy anymore for this Texans squad necessarily. But people are acting like this dude's a scrub. In 2022, 302 carries, 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, 41 was his long rush of the season. He's elite, ladies and gentlemen. He's really good. And what if I told you this stat? Nick Chubb, out of all the running backs since 2020, every single one of them, you know who was the best in terms of yards per carry in the entire National Football League? Well, you're looking at him right here, and his name's Nick Chubb. Since 2020, Chubb leads all eligible running backs with 5.1 yards per carry. So he was great, and he has been great. Even with the injury, even with everything that's happened, Nick Chubb is an absolute dog. And I think people are quick to forget about that because of the injuries. People are ready to say, oh, he's a running back. He's going to suck. He's going to absolutely suck. He's washed. And I know the Texans have gotten burned in the past with similar type players. And I know a lot of my old school Texans fans will look back and they'll say, I'm on green. And I'll tell you this, Nick Chubb is not Amon Green. Nick Chubb is not Amon Green. One, I think he's much better than Green ever was throughout his career. But also, I think Nick Chubb still has a lot of juice left in that tank. We saw him working out this offseason. Dude's still bending the bar whenever he is squatting. I think he's okay. I think he's good to go for the season, and I'm excited for him to get going. Hell, he only had 5 rushes in the preseason. What did he average? 5 yards a carry. Just like he has since 2020. Dude's an absolute wrecking machine. So before we get into some more reasons to be optimistic, today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. And I want to play a little Prize Picks with you. I just put it on the screen for you. 43.5 rush yards for Nick Chubb week 1. Are you going more or are you going less? If that's something that you think is a little fun, well, go ahead and head on over to our friends over at Prize Picks because this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss out on the excitement this season on Prize Picks where it's good to be right. Prize Picks, they put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Week 1. I just showed you. Let me know in the comment section, more or less Nick Chubb, 43.5 rush yards. I'm going more. Matthew Stafford, 0.5 interceptions. Give me the more. And then CJ Stroud, rush yards. I think he's got to use his feet a little bit more this season. So 11.5 rush yards, more on that as well. This is my lineup this week. You could use it. Or go make your own lineup with our friends over at Prize Picks. And the thing I love about Prize Picks is they actually invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So it doesn't have to be, every single one of your picks in your lineup hits. With the flex play, you can miss one and you can still get paid. So go download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right. Reason number 3, why you got to be more optimistic about my guy Nick Chubb is because this isn't something new for him. He knows this offense. And I know he's not worked with Nick Caley before, but Nick Caley runs a very similar scheme to what he ran with the Cleveland Browns under Kevin Stefanski. And this is what Nick Chubb had to say on the new offense and Nick Caley. He's a very smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows his stuff. I'm impressed. I'm happy and I'm excited. For the most part, it's all the same. Same thing I've done in Cleveland. Same blocking scheme and same plays. And I'm going to throw this up on the screen for you real quick, because we talk about coaching trees a lot, but going to the Mike Shanahan coaching tree, you see there kind of on the left, you got Gary Kubiak and you got Kevin Stefanski, all coming from the same originator. You also have Sean McVay right there. Who's under Sean McVay? Nick Caley, who adopted a lot of those same concepts, a lot of those same schemes. So even though it's not copy and paste, cut and dry, the same exact offense that he was running in Cleveland, it's a lot of the same concepts. It comes from the same coaching tree, the same, standard principles that they base their offense off from that Shanahan tree. So even though he hasn't played with Nick Caley, Chubb still knows the basics of this offense, what they want to do and what they want to accomplish with certain plays. So that gives him a step up more than a lot of people are giving him credit for, saying, oh, he's going to a new offense. Yes, it's new, but it's a lot of the same stuff that he's done in the past. Another thing, I know we like to dog on the Texans offensive line. It's easy. They were bad last year. But the Texans offensive line this year is arguably better than the Browns offensive line last year. And in terms of, worst offensive lines in the league, the Browns were right there with the Houston Texans. And when you look at their PFF grades last year, they actually had worse run blocking grades than the Texans did. And everybody likes to point at, Nick Chubb, ever since, he's been injured, ever since this, that, or the other, he's been washed, he's sucked, he hasn't been good. But when you look at this Texans offensive line, I think Ariante Ursery, the big guy, the big rookie at left tackle, he's going to help you a little bit. And then you have Laken Tomlinson, Jake Andrews, Ed Ingram, Titus Howard. I think this is a better unit than the Browns' offensive line was last year. And as we look at their PFF grades, look at the run blocking grades. The highest run blocker on the Browns' offensive line last year earned a 63.7 run blocking grade. There were multiple Texans that had better run blocking grades than that. The next best is 61.6. So the Browns' run blocking was not good at all last year. Their run block win rate was worse than the Texans. And the Texans' offensive line will be much better this year at run blocking. I think implementing more of a gap scheme. The Texans, besides the LA Rams in the preseason, ran the most gap scheme concepts when running the football out of anybody in the entire National Football League. We already saw it during the preseason. This Texans running game is different and better than it was last year. A lot of people say, oh, Joe Mixon, he was awesome last year. The Texans, running game, their run blocking was probably awesome. I don't think it was. I think Joe Mixon saved the Texans a lot last year with some bad run blocking, and he was able to get out of it and scamper and make what should have been a 2-yard loss into maybe a 15-yard gain. I don't think Nick Chubb will have to do that this year. I think he's going to have much more clear running lanes, and this Texans offensive line is going to be more sound in the run blocking department, allowing Nick Chubb's job to be much easier, which is just putting his head down and running that dang football. And the last reason to be more optimistic about this Texans run game and Nick Chubb is actually nothing to do with the run game at all. It's the passing game. I think C.J. Stroud in this Texans passing game will be better. We talk about balance, an offense, what they need to do, right? And it's kind of like the yin and the yang, right? With good running attacks, that leads to better passing attacks. If you're a good passing team, that allows more running lanes because teams aren't just pressed up in the box. They don't have 7-8 guys crowding the line of scrimmage, forcing you to throw the ball deep. And I think C.J. Stroud is going to be much better this year at distributing the football. I think the wide receiver room is much more, I would say, balanced this year. I would say it has a lot more talent from top to bottom than it did last year. Last year, of course, they had the top 3 guys, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. But I think overall, this wide receiver room is much better. So a better passing attack is going to lead to an easier run game for Nick Chubb. And a lot of people are sleeping on him. But I'm telling you right now, Texans fans, you should not be sleeping on Nick Chubb. Hell, I'd even be hard-pressed to say you should take him on your fantasy team this year, especially for the beginning of the season. That's all I have for you on this show. Make sure to hit me up on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs. And as always, you made it to the end of the video. I'm doing something right. So go down and hit that sub button for free Texans content all year long. There we go. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. I actually need a little tissue. I'm telling y'all, Chubb's about to go crazy. Chubb is about to go crazy, and I'm pumped to see what he can do this season. And I want to hear from you folks at home. What version of Nick Chubb are we getting this year? What version of Nick Chubb do you think we're going to get this season? I'm not saying he's going to be, the world beater, 1,500 yards in a season Nick Chubb. But also, I think he's going to be a lot better than, some people are saying he's washed. I don't think that whatsoever. Do I think he's a top 5 back? No. I don't think he's that level anymore. But can he be maybe a top 12, top 15 back? I think so. I think he'll be solid. I think he'll be a good running back for this Texans squad. Casey, I know you probably have a fantasy team or two, right?
I do. I have 3 fantasy teams, actually.
Who are you taking at running back during your fantasy leagues? I want to know.
Honestly, let me pull it up right now. I have my thing right here. Let me pull it up. I know Achane is one of my running backs, but that was my league where I'm not going to throw under the bus, but my wife actually drafted for me while we were doing a watch party. Duty calls. I did tell her Achane would be an okay pick.
Blame it on the wife.
But Achane is one of my running backs. Let me keep looking through here. I wanted Chubb. Let me tell you that. I just never had an opportunity in all 3 of my drafts to really get out there and get him. I didn't.
People are asleep, but I'm telling you, I think Nick Chubb is going to be a lot better than people think.
One of my leagues, I got Isaiah Pacheco. I got Tracy Jr. I got, let's see. Oh, surprise! I didn't know he was on the roster. Nick Chubb!
Oh, yeah. Producer Casey's getting chubbed up back there. Producer Casey, all the Chubb in the world.
I have Breece Hall and Montgomery. My run game's stacked in this league. Holy crap.
So I'm in 2 fantasy leagues, And both of my fantasy leagues that I'm in have multiple Texans fans in them. So I got sniped for Nick Chubb. I wasn't able to pick him for either of my fantasy teams. Yeah. I got Travion Henderson, Tony Pollard in one league for my fantasy team with backups Tyrone Tracy and J.K. Dobbins. If you haven't drafted your fantasy team yet, by the way, I got you covered with the best pick of the draft. Take Braylon Allen. He's Breece Hall's backup for the Jets. Braylon Allen, if he's not picked yet, if you have a spot on your roster and you're looking for another running back, Braylon Allen will be a really good back this year. And I think the Jets are willing to move on from Breece Hall. If he does get traded, Braylon Allen can win you your league.
Wow. He's probably undrafted in a lot of leagues.
My other league, I picked fourth, and I got Saquon Barkley, Travion Henderson, Braylon Allen is one of my backup running backs, and Javonte Williams.
That's not bad. That's pretty good.
Behind the veil, do you think Dameon Pierce is a good backup to have? Great question. Make sure you use hashtag Texans in your comment. If you want to get Texans on screen, we're going to do a mailbag here in a little bit. Answer all your questions. We'll go through some of the super chats that have questions as well. So if you want a chance to get on the show, voice your opinion. Oh, wow. Okay. Bills released Jordan Poyer, but is expected to be re-signed. Gabriel Davis. Okay. I thought I was like, release Jordan Poyer. I was like, interesting. I thought they just signed him.
No, but he's going to be on the roster, more than likely. That's what they're saying. They're going to bring him back.
Dameon Pierce? Oh, Jordan Poyer? Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a Wilson bomb. He just rifle tweeting right now. Okay, yeah, perfect. Behind the veil, love it. We'll be able to put that on our mailbag coming up. We have one more segment, and then we have our mailbag at the very end of today's program. Appreciate everybody for rocking and rolling with us. First Wednesday live show of the year. Had around 140, 150 people the entire show, so I appreciate everybody for sticking around with us. Reminder, though, if you want to get in, $5 super chat all month long. We're doing a raffle for a Nico Collins autographed picture, and it's absolutely lit. If you want a chance to win this bad boy right here, $5 super chat all month long. Every $5 you spend is another ticket. So if you want a chance to win this bad boy, every $5 that you spend is another ticket for a chance to win this Nico Collins autograph picture. Any super chat, obviously, we get you up on screen. And then the top 3 XP getters. I told y'all, if you look, it's the top fans. Right now, it is Evan McGinley, Mr. Buddha, and we got, what is that, Joe Williams? Oh, condition-based. Y'all 3 would win a free raffle ticket for this Sunday. We're giving away a CJ Stroud Funko Pop. So y'all 3 are getting free tickets if y'all remain the top 3 XP getters for today's program. All right, I think we're about ready to get into this next segment we have, and this one I believe is the Fanatics one. Going to take a quick sip of water. There we go. There we go. How are we feeling for a Wednesday live show? The timing good? I had a lot of people said 3, a lot of people said 4, a lot of people said 5. Yeah, that's good. Are we cool with the 3:30 timing? I thought that works out pretty good for everybody. Allows people to kind of roll in towards the end of the show as well. I know some people said 5 o'clock. It's a little late to start. I didn't want to do that to Casey. We can make some changes. Krautsky said late night. Well, Krautsky's also in Germany. So for her, the timing, I don't know if it matters as much because I think regardless it'll be a little bit of a late night. But, yeah, Krautsky loves the noon games for us. Because that means, I would say that means, for Krautsky, that means it's like an 8 o'clock game. 21 says, any later I'd be asleep. That's fair. I like 3:30. Wouldn't even mind 3. Oh, also, Krautsky, I'm glad you got – I'm in the midst of still trying to get everybody their raffle item. and make, or not route, the stuff that they've won. But I know, Krautsky, you got your CJ Stroud jersey. So I'm glad you got it. I forgot, if you haven't already, send me a picture of you with the jersey. I'd love to put it on the show, kind of show off. Oh, you did? Let's see. Let me see. Oh, you know what? I'm in the wrong page.
Are they looking swagged out in their new jersey?
Oh, twin, let's go. Oh, yeah, Krautsky. Only if you feel comfortable. If you don't want to, I don't want to pressure you into it. But if you want to be a part of our show and I could show you up on screen with your jersey, I'd love to do that. If not, no, all good, no problem. But I'd like to bring Texans fans a little bit closer. So if you could, that'd be cool. I think that'd be cool. All right, we're getting into one more segment. And, twin 400 said Chuggs caught you live, H-Town. Hold it down. All right, coming up, we have ESPN gave some wild predictions around your Houston Texans. I'll break it all down here right now. Coming up on today's program, ESPN gave their season-long predictions, and they were pretty harsh on the Houston Texans based on how they performed last year. They won a playoff game. They made it to the divisional round, lost a close one to the Kansas City Chiefs. Yet, ESPN ranked them in their power rankings as the 14th best team in the NFL. I'll break down what that ESPN article said. They have a couple different points that they talk about the Houston Texans, about, who the biggest surprise is, who the biggest fantasy guy is, this, that, and the other. We'll break it all down around that ESPN article. But this is why you subscribe to ESPN. $120 a year, and that's just for the base package. Now they have ESPN Unlimited, and I think that one's like $300 a year. Texans Today is, hold on one second, let me check my notes. Yeah, it is free. It's $0 a year. So if you want free Texans content all year long, and if ESPN drops an article on their ESPN Plus or ESPN whatever, I'll still break it down for you. I make sure I pay for those so you don't have to. And I'll just break down everything that ESPN's got to say, because also, you don't really have to listen to ESPN because they don't follow the Texans nearly as close as I do, as a lot of the beat reporters and people who are around the team. ESPN, they're just not as close to a couple of the other guys that cover the team. I would say me included. So make sure you don't waste money. All you got to do, hit that subscribe button. All right, ESPN Analytics. This is what they said for the Houston Texans, the 14th best team in their power rankings. Chances to make the playoffs, 54.3%. Chances to win the division, 42.5%. And the strength of schedule, 14th easiest, a tie for the Houston Texans. Now, they gave their ESPN projected wins for each team along the way. And they do have the Texans as the favorite to win the AFC South. 8.8 wins, though, projected by ESPN. The Jags right behind it, 8.1. 7.7 for the Colts and 6.7 for the Tennessee Titans. And, 8.8, I guess we can round it up to 9. I see that as the absolute floor for the Houston Texans. I think if the Texans only have 9 wins when it's all said and done, I think that's a worst-case scenario for this team, where almost everything goes wrong. The offense doesn't look great. The defense isn't as good as you expected. I think a lot of things have to happen, in my opinion, for the Texans to only garner 9 wins during the 2025 season. That's just my opinion. But ESPN, they're predicting around that 8-9 win mark for this Texans squad. Even though they do have the Texans winning the division, I think that's a little bit of a miscalculation on ESPN's part. So I want to hear from you. What do you think the Texans' floor is for wins? The worst case scenario where the Texans have a really bad season, I think the floor is around 8 or 9. Let me know though down in the comments section. What do you think worst case scenario the floor is for the Houston Texans? And ESPN didn't stop there at all, because Bill Barnwell also put out an article of the teams that could make the playoffs and could maybe miss the playoffs. And he chose 3 teams that made the playoffs last year that he's predicting don't make it this year. Those 3 teams, the Texans, the Rams, and the Bucs. 3 teams that made the playoffs last year, that won their divisions, that he's saying aren't going to win their divisions and aren't going to make the playoffs this season. I think that is a massive miscalculation, once again, by Billy Barnwell. I don't agree with that whatsoever. But let's look at the ESPN predictions and what they had to say. First up, they broke down the biggest strength for the Houston Texans. And not a major surprise here for Texans fans. They said the edge rushers, the defensive line, and most namely Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter, which I agree, the best pass rush duo in the NFL, if you ask me. Maybe a little bit biased as a Texans fan, but I agree with ESPN that the biggest strength could be this Texans pass rush because Will Anderson Jr. is on the precipice of being one of the top edge rushers in the entire National Football League. And I don't know if Danielle Hunter found the fountain of youth, but that dude hasn't aged a bit. He looks like he's Benjamin Button gone down since he's been with the Houston Texans. I expect another great year from Danielle Hunter as well. And I agree with ESPN that could be the Texans' biggest strength going into this season. Hell, I even said one of my bold takes, one of my hot takes coming into the year is that by the end of the year, Will Anderson Jr. is going to be the best Texans player on this squad. I stick by that. I think this edge rusher duo is the Texans' biggest strength heading into 2025. Let's look at their biggest concern, though, around the Houston Texans. And it was the offensive line. And maybe some easy picking, some low-hanging fruit. But this is what ESPN had to say on the biggest concern. Most of the starters on the offensive line have struggled throughout their career, or at least recently. Tackle Ariante Ursary looked promising in camp, though he is a rookie, and tackle Titus Howard is proven. But outside of them, the starters could be a few guys who have been cast-offs. So, how will they come together in a pivotal year 3 for Coach DeMeco Ryans? And I did want to say, the biggest concern being the O-line, that's recycled content. That's stuff that they were talking about 2-3 months ago. I feel like this is like a copy and paste situation for a lot of these ESPN guys of, oh yeah, of course, the biggest concern is the offensive line because it's the same biggest concern that we've been talking about for the past 3 or 4 months. And the thing that annoys me the most is the biggest concern should be Joe Mixon and whether or not he suits up for the Houston Texans, the running back. I think that's a big concern because I talked about it. I like Nick Chubb. I think he can be really good for this team. But adding Joe Mixon into that mix with him and Chubb as a 1-2 combo can elevate this Texans offense to another level. And saying the Texans O-line is the biggest concern, of course. Okay, yeah, sure. But I hate the criticism of the Texans offensive line was bad in 2025. All right, they add 3 new starters. All right, well, the Texans have 3 new starters on the offensive line. Okay, you can't have it both ways. You can't say the offensive line was bad and they need to replace guys. And then when the Texans replace guys, you go, well, they have a bunch of new guys. Of course, the offensive line was bad. So they replaced them. Duh. I mean, I get it's the biggest concern and it's an easy talking point for somebody who's maybe not close to the team. But I just think it's an easy, low-hanging fruit that, of course, ESPN is going to mention the offensive line because that's the only thing they know about the Houston Texans, that and their star players. Let's look at another part of this ESPN article, the QB stat to know. And from the biggest concern, you probably know what the QB stat to know is. The sacks in 2024. C.J. Stroud sacked 52 times, second most in the entire National Football League. I think that is going to definitely curve in the right direction for the Texans offense in 2025. They have new OC Nick Caley. They have a new offensive scheme where they're going to try to run the ball a little bit more. Also, Nick Caley, we talked about him and the Shanahan ties. The other ties that he has is to those New England Patriots offenses. And what do you think about when you think of Tom Brady? Getting the ball out. I think C.J. Stroud, they're going to try to get the ball out of his hands quicker. They're going to have to, get more quick hot routes, more underneath, not trying to force the ball deep, not trying to wait back there in the pocket for 4, 5, 6 seconds, but take what the defense gives you. Hit that tight end for a 4 or 5 yard curl route. Hit that, slot receiver on a quick slant route. I think that's going to be a big change that you'll see in this Texans offense and in C.J. Stroud in 2025. I have 2 more parts of this ESPN article to break down coming up right now, but speaking of C.J. Stroud, if you're looking for some C.J. Stroud gear, give me a yeah down in the comment section. You can go to chatsports.com/CJ Stroud. We have the jerseys, obviously, but also the shirts. I was, talking in our live chat. Krautsky, she got a C.J. Stroud jersey Absolutely loved it. They also have CJ Stroud graphic tees. They have CJ Stroud baseball jerseys as well. Anything around CJ Stroud, we got you covered. So if you need something cool to either wear, maybe put in your man cave like this autographed CJ Stroud picture, go right here. chatsports.com/CJ Stroud. All of that available right now. Go check it out. I'll have that link in the comment section and description of today's program. All right. ESPN predictions. Let's look at their next part. They went to the fantasy route and how to win your fantasy league. They mentioned somebody who, this has actually been a very sneaky name that a lot of people have mentioned as well. Jayden Higgins, the second-round pick out of Iowa State. I think for sure he is somebody who could have a big role in 2025. But if you're asking me, somebody who's been kind of covering this team, watching this team all off season, Jayden Higgins, I agree he's going to be good. But you always have that feast or famine with rookies, right? There's a little bit of growing pains coming into the year. You know who's not getting selected in about 88% of leagues right now? Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk is another good wide receiver who has built a really good rapport with CJ Stroud. Could be a second option as a veteran in this league, has been there, done that. And, of course, Jayden Higgins has a very promising career ahead of him. Texans took him with their first selection in this year's draft at pick 34. I just think people need to pump the brakes a little bit, especially if we're talking fantasy. If you want to win your fantasy football league, wait until the very end, the very last round, and take Christian Kirk. I think that could be a better option than reaching on a guy like Jayden Higgins because he's going in the middle rounds. Maybe look at a guy like a Christian Kirk as somebody who you can snag at the very end, and he's going to be somebody who I guarantee you after week 1, week 2 is going to be snatched up on a lot of waiver wires for fantasy football. Now, I play fantasy football. I have multiple teams. I know a lot of y'all play fantasy football. We were talking with producer Casey. He has 3 teams. I want to know, how many Texans do you have on your fantasy football team? Maybe teams. Let me know down in the comment section. Do you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Texans on your fantasy team? On your fantasy team. Let me know down in the comment section. How many Texans do you have on your fantasy squad? I'm in a couple fantasy leagues, and I will say I'm in one with all my high school buddies. Shout out to Clear Lake, home of the Falcons. I'm in a fantasy league with a lot of those guys, a lot of Texans fans, so they get snatched up pretty quick. I do have a couple Texans on my fantasy team, though. Definitely Kaimi Fairbairn, my guy. Have him for sure. But let me know down in the comment section, how many Texans do you have on your fantasy football teams? Lastly, from this ESPN article, they gave a bold prediction. And I think if you're a Texans fan, you probably won't think this is that bold. Like, this is in my opinion, a mild prediction. If we're talking spice level, a medium prediction. They said Kamari Lassiter is going to be a Pro Bowler this year. And if you watched any of the Texans games last year, if you watched this Texans defense, even hell, if you just watched the playoffs, you probably know number 4 is a damn good football player. And I think, yes, he's due for a big year 2 jump. In my opinion, the only reason he wasn't the best secondary player that was a rookie last year and why everybody's talking about Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean from the Philadelphia Eagles is because they won the Super Bowl and the Texans didn't. If the Texans would have gone farther in the playoffs, every single person and their mother would have said, dude, have you seen that Kamari Lassiter guy, that cornerback opposite of Derek Stingley? He's the truth. And guess what? Even though they didn't make it that far in the playoffs, even though they only made it to the divisional round, that still holds true with Kamari Lassiter. He's an absolute dog. He's an amazing cornerback. And I hope people finally open their eyes to that with Kamari Lassiter. Hell, even his, rookie teammate, Kalen Bullock, there on the back end. I think both those guys are due for big year 2 jumps. ESPN, they put them in the article as their biggest surprise, but if you're a real Texans fan, that should not be a surprise to you whatsoever. Hit me up on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs if you have any more questions, or hey, just want to chop it up around the Houston Texans or the NFL in general. And also, made it to the end of today's video, hit that subscribe button. We're going live on Sunday, Texans versus Rams. Be there or be square. Make sure you're subscribed and you turn on your notifications. All right. There we go. There we go. It's Cosmo said, don't forget about Bullock. I didn't forget about Bullock whatsoever. And that's what I was saying. They said it was like this bold take, like they were like, oh, my God, you won't believe what I'm about to say here, but Kamari Lassiter is good. We know. We all know Kamari Lassiter is good. If you're a real Texans fan, if you watched any games last year, you know Kamari Lassiter is good. Do you have any, Casey, bold predictions? Maybe not about the Texans, but just I'll go NFL in general for my boy Casey. He's a fellow Texaner, but unfortunately he's a Cowgirls fan. I'm trying to get him over to the dark side. Be a Texans fan, but
you're trying, and it's not working all the way, but it's tempting. It's tempting.
We have cookies.
Tempting.
Do you have any bold predictions for the NFL season this year?
Honestly, I think this could be the year. I know it's weird, a guy who's won 3 Super Bowls, multiple MVPs, but this is a year where Patrick Mahomes kind of has to remind us why we hold him to such a high level, why we consider him to be, despite a couple of down years, he's still the best quarterback in the league. You can't put up so-so numbers for 3 consecutive seasons coming off of a loss in the Super Bowl and still expect to have that top spot. So my big thing is we better see a damn good season from Patrick Mahomes on the stat sheet this season. That's what I'm feeling.
If you were if they did like a fantasy draft style, but it was like real NFL, everybody's up for grabs, kind of like in Madden.
Okay, like an open draft. Yeah.
Open draft.
Okay.
You're on the board.
Yeah.
And there's
I don't pick him.
Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes. Who are you taking?
Lamar's my guy, man.
I know Lamar has
Patrick Mahomes has Super Bowls and more MVP. Wait, 1 MVP. Lamar has 1 MVP. So the same amount of
Lamar
MVPs.
has 2.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about the most recent one. Okay, give me the 2-time MVP. Give me the 2-time MVP.
Let me know down in the comments. If you had to choose between Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes,
MVP.
who are you going with? Patrick Mahomes has the titles, but if we're just talking pure...
What have you done for me recently?
I think if we're talking pure playmakers and just pure, who is...
I'm definitely taking Josh Allen.
Gifted? Oh, dude. I mean, it's tough because Patrick Mahomes is still an absolute wizard, and there's a reason why he is regarded as one of the best players of all time already in his young NFL career.
Yeah.
I see a couple people saying Lamar Jackson, though, all day.
We just got to see Mahomes do what he was doing in his first 5 seasons as to where it's like, you got to put up 35, 40 touchdowns, the 4,000. You have weapons. You have coaches. You have the defense. We got to see some stats, not just wins. That's my opinion. That's my big one for the year.
Okay, there we go. You heard it here from our guy Casey on the 1s and 2s. He's expecting a big year from Patty Mahomes. I hope not. Lamar should have had his 3rd MVP last year. Yeah, honestly, if it was up to me, I think Saquon Barkley should have been the MVP last year. In my opinion, I think 2,000 yards. If you're a 2,000-yard rusher in today's NFL, that's just my opinion. But if we're going to talk about it, J.J. Watt got totally hosed from an MVP with Aaron Rodgers. I think J.J. Watt should have won the – if we're talking about most valuable player, who means the most to their squads, I think J.J. Watt should have an MVP in his career.
Was that in 23 or 22 when he won that?
No, this was in –
You're talking about the one prior?
This was –
to his most recent MVP.
Yeah, this was in 20 – I want to say 17?
Oh, so this was a while ago.
No. This was in 2014.
Oh, okay. Wow.
2014.
This was a long time ago.
Listen to these numbers by J.J. Watt. And honestly, he even had maybe a better year in 2012 and was not even on the consideration for MVP. But in 2014, J.J. Watt had 78 tackles, 20.5 sacks, 29 tackles for loss, 1 safety, 51 quarterback hits. He also had 4 forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries, an interception for a touchdown, and 10 pass breakups.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I at first, the reason I said, I thought you said his brother at first.
Oh, yeah. No.
So my bad.
No, yeah.
That's why I was confused.
2014 JJ, and I think also he had a touchdown interception return for a touchdown that year. I think that was the one that he had on EJ Manuel against the Bills. I think so. But also, alongside that in 2014, listen to this. He also played tight end for the Texans.
What?
He played tight end on goal line packages. J.J. Watt in 2014. 3 targets, 3 receptions, 3 touchdowns.
Whoa, 100%, man.
He had 3 receiving touchdowns in 2014.
Holy shit. I didn't know that.
Dude,
Can we go back and cast our votes?
There is not a more dominant player in NFL history than 2014 J.J. Watt, and you cannot convince me otherwise.
John Garcia asking, he had 5 total touchdowns that year, right? Yep.
I believe so. It depends on if he had a
Because was it 2 defensively?
No, he had 1 interception for a touchdown.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. He had 1 fumble return for a touchdown as well. So, yeah,
So it was
5
5.
touchdowns on the year.
Attaboy John, ball knower.
John Garcia, certified ball knower. And if you have a question or if you think you know ball, hashtag Texans or Super Chat right now because we're about to get into the final segment, which is maybe one of my favorite segments. It's a mailbag where we're going to take all your questions. We're going to pop them up on screen. We're going to talk about them, and that'll be the segment. It'll just be y'all. It's a show by the people for the people.
We've got a decent amount of questions so far.
We do?
But,
Okay.
but one last warning for everyone, or get out there. If you want to get on the show, want Chuggs, Jeremy, to answer your questions, hashtag Texans in the comments.
Yep, hashtag Texans. Or if you want to do a little double dip, you can get a raffle ticket with a $5 Super Chat for the Nico Collins autograph. And you can get your question up on the show. So if you want a little double dip, a little 2-for-1, a little BOGO action, there you go. There you go. To get on the show. EJ, wait, do I type it? So what you'll do, EJ, I'll give you an example right now. So hashtag Texans. Why should Casey be a Texans fan and not a Cowgirls fan? So you'll put in your question just like that.
Oh, great question, Chuggs. Great question.
Here you go. So if you want to get on screen, whenever I say hashtag Texans, it's literally like you just put hashtag Texans, one word, hashtag Texans, in your comment, and then whatever question you have. That makes it to where producer Casey, it's easier for him to pull up your questions and then get it up on screen. So if you want to get on screen, if you want a chance to let your voice be heard, you can do so. Just make sure to use hashtag Texans. Or, like I said, if you want to skip the line and make sure 100% you get on screen, you can super chat. And a $5 super chat gets you also a raffle ticket for our Nico Collins autographed picture. All right. We're about set up for our final segment on the day. Great first live show. A doozy, a 4-seggy. And we're about to wrap it up here with our last one, our Texans Today mailbag. So you still have a chance to get in on it. If you have a question, make sure you hashtag Texans or Super Chat to get on the program. And let's get started with our Texans Today mailbag. Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, a show by the people, for the people. Texans Today mailbag. All these questions were answered from our live show on September 3rd. Yes, a September 3rd live show. We're doing weekly live shows here on Texans Today. Every Wednesday at 3:30 Central Time, we're going live. All you got to do if you're watching this live, hashtag Texans or Super Chat to get on the program. And all the questions are from our loyal subscribers who tuned in to our Texans Today live show. And if you want to be a part of one of these, make sure you pull up on Wednesdays to be part of our Texans Today lives. And just a reminder, we will be going live Texans versus Rams Week 1 live watch party. We have live Wednesday shows, and then we do our live watch parties that get a little bit more crazy. So if you want to be part of all that action, make sure to pull up this Sunday as we go live for Texans up against the Rams. All right, let's go to the first one here from Sam Durant. Texans, we need our D-line to sack Stafford if we want to win. I agree. I made a video of our keys to victory. And actually, the very first key was get pressure on Matthew Stafford. We've talked about it maybe ad nauseum around Matthew Stafford's back injury. He should be good to go. Or the Rams have said he's good to go week 1. He will be playing. but that doesn't mean that back is still not, fully fixed. I think he's still playing injured, and I think the Texans can make him very uncomfortable if this D-line, most namely Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter, are able to get pressure on the Rams quarterback. I think this could be a big day for this Texans defense. I agree with you, Sam Durant, and I think the Texans, for them to win, they need to get some pressure on Matthew Stafford. All right, let's look at this next one from Krautsky. Shout out all the way from Germany. How are we doing? Texans, #Texans. What are your expectations for Petrie this season? His injury hurt the defense massively. And I agree with you 100% on this one, Krautsky. Petrie, he got injured midway through the season. And the difference between him being on the field and then him being off the field was very noticeable. He plays a very special position because the Texans, they switched to a 4-2-5. That means 4 D linemen, 2 linebackers, and then 5 guys in the secondary. And Petrie is kind of this special nickel star role player where he's a pseudo linebacker for this Texans team. Right? He's a big hitter. He can play in the nickel. He can guard tight ends, guard slots, and then he can also help you in run defense. He's a great run defender. And I think you see this in how much he impacts his Texans defense with the fact that they went ahead and extended him this offseason, even though he missed half the year due to injury. They still were like, hey, we've seen enough from you to know what you bring to the table, and if you're healthy, we want you to keep on bringing it for the Houston Texans. I expect Petrie to be a major part in this Texans defense and be a big part of this Texans run defense especially. He sets the tone. Him and Azeez Al-Shaair are 2 big hitters in the middle. Even though Petrie, smaller in stature, I believe he's only 5'10", he still brings the boom. And I expect him to do that during the 2025 season. Great question, Kraftsky. We bring the boom. 1TZ Cosmo, #Texans. No one is talking about the Texans defense in their predictions. Texans D will be our secret weapon since not a lot of people notice it yet on how good they are. H's up. And that's the thing. We talked about ESPN. They had a article with a lot of predictions, and their, calculator, however they kind of calculated it, said the Texans were 8.8 wins this year was their projection for the Texans. 8.8 wins. I don't see how you have that, and I think a lot of the onus goes on to the Texans offensive line and this Texans offense. But the Texans defense is returning most of their starters from last year. And yeah, they added CJ Gardner-Johnson on the back end. So they're only going to be better. They were one of the top teams in terms of takeaways last year, and they were one of the top teams in terms of getting after the quarterback. So I think this Texans defense is going to take another step up. You have a defensive-minded head coach in DeMeco Ryans who's ready to pump it up to the next level. We just talked about what Kraftsky said. Petrie should be back this year, and I hope he's able to play all 17 games for this Texans defense. If that's the case, I agree 100%. Nobody is talking about this Texans defense, and nobody's talking about how much of an impact that's going to have week in and week out during this Texans schedule. Now, I want to hear from you. Which player needs to step up for the Texans to beat the Rams on Sunday? Is it Jalen Petrie? Is it somebody on this Texans D-line? Is it somebody else that we haven't even talked about? Let me know down in the comment section which player needs to step up for the Texans to beat the Rams this weekend. I'm going to go with Ariante Ursery, the rookie left tackle. It's a big stage. Week 1, you won the starting job. The second-round pick out of Minnesota. But what is your consolation prize? You go up against a really good Rams defense with a couple really good pass rushers. I mean, just looking at their starting unit, Braden Fisk, who was a rookie last year, really good. Oh, yeah, they have a guy named Jared Verse, who's another ascending pass rusher. So it's not going to be an easy task whatsoever. I need the left tackle, the rookie Ariante Ursery, to prove once again to everybody around the NFL, to all of us Texans fans, that he was maybe the steal of the 2025 NFL draft. I think Ariante Ursery is somebody who definitely needs to step up this week for the Texans to win. And speaking of the Texans winning, you can win this week too with our friends over at Prize Picks. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. PrizePicks, they put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. And my lineup for this week, CJ Stroud, we saw it in the playoffs last year. Use his legs a lot more. I think he'll do that once again this season under new OC Nick Caley. Matthew Stafford dealing with that back issue, 0.5 interceptions. More on that. And then Nick Chubb, 43.5 rush yards. He is going to be the lead back for this Texans team. I think he better get more than 43.5 rush yards if this Texans offense wants to be balanced and move the ball well up against this Rams defense. You can use this, or hell, go ahead and make your own. Just do it with our friends over at PrizePicks. Look how happy Drewski is playing PrizePicks right there. You can be that happy too. All you got to do, download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, Delvin Johnson, hashtag Texans. Do you think Kamari Lassiter is going to come to play with a bigger chip on his shoulder since he was left off the NFL Top 100 list? Great question. I was talking about it earlier on our live show. I think the only reason he's not ranked ahead of guys like a Cooper DeJean, like a Quinyon Mitchell, both really good corners in their own aspect, I think it's because the Eagles won the Super Bowl and all the hype around that. But when you look at the numbers, when you look at the play, when you look at just the raw footage of Kamari Lassiter and those guys, I would argue he's better than Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. And I hope he's able to prove that this year, because you look at who's on the other side of Kamari Lassiter. In my opinion, the best corner in the entire league, Derek Stingley Jr. And what does that mean? That means opposing teams, opposing quarterbacks, they don't want to go against Derek Stingley. They don't want to test him. So they're going to look the other way. They're going to look at Kamari Lassiter. And when he was targeted last year, completion percentage under 50%. So he was tested a lot, and they still weren't completing balls on him. That just shows you how good Kamari Lassiter is and how good I think he can be this year for this Texans defense. EG Productions, do you think Nico Collins will have, more than 100 receptions this year? We'll go more or less. Shout out to our friends at PrizePicks. 100 receptions. That's going to be really dependent, in my opinion, on whether or not Nico Collins plays 17 games. He has yet to have over 100 receptions in a year. Last year, 68 receptions. The year before that, 80 receptions, 37 receptions, and then 33 receptions. But also, when you look at Nico Collins and you look at, how he's done, last year played in 14 games. The year before that, played in 10, played in 15, played in 12. Has yet to play a full NFL season. So, if you're looking at the Houston Texans and you're looking at Nico Collins, it's not about can he get 100 receptions? Of course he can. When he's healthy, Nico Collins is a top 5 wide receiver in this league. The only question is his health. Will that help him stay on the field and allow him to get 100 receptions? That's the key question, is how many games is Nico Collins going to play? If he plays 17, I have no doubt that he can get to 100 receptions in 2025. Noah Santana Suavemente. Hashtag Texans, best trade you would make right now. See, because this is a tough one, because I think the Texans roster right now is pretty damn good. I think they're pretty solid, in my opinion. And if I'm looking at a trade, if you're making a trade, you need something, right? You have a huge, point of emphasis. You have a big gap in your team, a big hole in your team that needs help, right? If I'm the Texans, I don't necessarily know where that gap is. I mean, running back, maybe, but I think you're pretty solid with your depth there. I mean, maybe if Joe Mixon, I would say the one trade I'll say, Noah, is I actually talked about it in a show a couple days ago. The only trade I would consider or look at this point right now is if Joe Mixon's out for the year, if he comes after 4 games, if they say, you know what, we're shutting him down, I would look at a Breece Hall trade with the New York Jets. They don't want to re-sign him. He's a very talented back, and if things aren't working out with your running back room, Dameon Pierce, a couple other guys, and you want more talent back there, I would look at a Breece Hall. But in terms of, depth guys. I'm thinking of safety, cornerback, maybe for some depth. I don't know if you want to, necessarily give up draft assets to trade for depth. I'd rather you look out in free agency. There's still a lot of good safeties and corners left in free agency. Why give up draft capital to get, a safety, a cornerback that's not going to start for you? There's nobody out there that you could trade for right now, in my opinion, that would make you better in the secondary than your starters right now. You need depth, guys behind them. So that's why I would say the only trade that I would say makes sense for the Texans would be a Breece Hall trade if Joe Mixon's not able to come back. But still, I would lean towards no. I don't think the Texans need to make any trades as of right now. Good question, though, Noah. Brandon Michael, legitimate thoughts on Tank Dell return this season? Horrific injury, and it happened at a horrific time for Tank Dell. I mean, these injuries, there's never a good time to have an injury, of course, but it happened, week 16 last year? So it was at the end of the year. It was in December, and that means that's when his everything started for him. So everything around these injuries, and he had multiple injuries in his knee. It wasn't, just an ACL. It wasn't an MCL. He tore multiple different ligaments in that knee. Had to have multiple surgeries as well. I think the quickest he returns is a year. And if that's the mark, if it's a year, we're looking at December. So we're looking at kind of the same, week 15, week 16. Now, are the Texans going to be in a spot where they need Tank Dell? It's going to be a tough decision because you're already keeping 7 wide receivers on your roster. And then also you have to think about Tank Dell getting back into game shape, getting back to a point where he can be a plus on this team. I have no doubt that he's probably in the wide receiver meeting room around the, complex. He's talking to Nick Caley. He's around the team enough to where he should know the playbook, or at least, know it up here. But there's a difference between studying the playbook and then actually running it during practice and being there active, going through walkthroughs, this, that, and the other. I would lean towards no. I more than anybody, want to see Tank Dell return. Hell, the only H-Town alternate jersey that I own right now is number 3. It's Tank Dell. So, of course, I'd love to see him get back on the field. I'm just skeptical about it this year. I think the earliest we see him is into December, January. If it's anything earlier than that, I think it's a miracle, and I'm really hoping that that's the case for Tank Dell. But just from my opinion, from everything that I've heard and seen from him, that would be my safe option for Tank Dell, is to return in December. Good question, though, Brandon. Jay Stokes, do you think the Rams matchup is scary considering the unknown O-line situation versus one of the best D-lines in the league, especially at stunts? And that was a big concern. That is a major concern. Because we talked about Jared Verse, one of the best ascending edge rushers in the NFL, right there with Will Anderson Jr. Both those guys are kind of teetering on being one of the best pass rushers in the league. Both of them, really, really good. Braden Fisk as well for the Rams defensive line, and they like to run a lot of stunts. They like to run a lot of, misdirection on that D-line. And the Texans line was awful with that last year. Good news is, I think they're going to be better at that this year. They have an entirely new interior. They have Laken Tomlinson, Jake Andrews, Ed Ingram. Titus Howard, I think, is a better right tackle than he is a guard. So, yes, it's scary, but let's look at it this way. Instead of saying it's scary, let's say what an opportunity this Texans offensive line has. Everybody's doubting them. Everybody is already out in the count. I mean, ESPN is saying for the past 5 months that the Texans offensive line sucks, even though it's a completely different unit than it was last year. So what an opportunity you have. Week 1, Ariante Ursery, the rookie second-round pick out of Minnesota. What an opportunity you have, Laken Tomlinson, the old veteran that everybody said is washed up. What an opportunity you have, Jake Andrews, the center who was waived by the New England Patriots, brought in, and everybody said, who's this no-name Patriots castaway? What an opportunity you have, Ed Ingram, a former first-round pick out of LSU, a guard that everybody said was, not even worth the 6th-round pick that the Texans traded him for. And Titus Howard, what an opportunity you have here. A former first-round pick out of a small school, and a lot of people were very, very skeptical of the pick when the Texans made it. And even now, even though Titus Howard has had a pretty solid NFL career so far, he still has a ton of doubters that are looking at him to fail. So the entire Texans offensive line, what an opportunity to go up against the Rams week 1 and prove that you are not that bottom 10 offensive line, that you are not that awful reason that's holding the Texans back. What an opportunity you have. Let me know down in the comment section, what is your confidence level in this Texans offensive line? Scale it 1 to 10. 10, you think they're the best unit in the NFL. 1, you think they'll be the worst. I'm feeling halfway optimistic. I'm giving it a 7, and I think obviously there's going to be some bumps and bruises, but I'm expecting this offensive line unit to be much better than last year and prove the entire NFL wrong. All right, let's look at behind the veil. Do you think Dameon Pierce is a good backup to have in fantasy? I think in fantasy, no. If I was in fantasy, honestly, and if I'm looking at running backs, obviously Nick Chubb, he's going to be the lead back. But depending on what league you're in, if you're in a PPR, that means points per reception. Look at Woody Marks. He's going to be a third down back. The reason why the Texans drafted Woody Marks, they actually traded up in round 4 for Woody Marks, is because of his pass catching ability. He's somebody that the Texans front office, that their coaching staff pinpointed and said, this guy, this is a missing piece that we need in our running back room that can really help. So if you're looking at a backup to be kind of a handicap for this Texans running back room, and I'm not saying go out and start Woody Marks week 1, but if you're looking for somebody to stash and say, hey, he might be a good fantasy performer that nobody sees coming, I think Woody Marks, in my opinion. And I'll give you some more free fantasy advice right now. Also look at Christian Kirk. 88% of leagues right now, undrafted. I'm just saying, take a flyer on Christian Kirk. Thank you for the question, though, behind the Boyd. Next up, Jack Tripper 3's company, #Texans. Since we kept more linebackers this year, will Petrie's field time be less? I will say, though, I think not because necessarily they kept more linebackers. I think it's because they kept less guys in the secondary. They only kept 4 corners on their 53-man roster. Kamari Lassiter, Derek Stingley, Jalen Smith, Tremont Smith. They have 4. Then they kept 4 guys in the safety room. Jalen Petrie, Kalen Bullock, CJ Gardner-Johnson, MJ Stewart. I think because of the numbers, just raw numbers right there, you have to think the Texans might, even though they're going to a 4-2-5, they might run more 4-3. They might throw in an extra linebacker here and there because they have 6 linebackers on their roster. Very good observation, Jack Tripper 3's company. And I agree with you. Because of the linebackers and the configuration that how they kept guys on the defensive side of the football, I think you could see more 4-3 this year. And DeMeco Ryans, he's playing mind games. He talked about, week 1, we've got to learn and adjust from what the Rams are running. And I think we've been seeing 4-2-5 all offseason. But maybe week 1, Texans come out there, they line up in a 4-3. They have 3 linebackers, and it's Azeez Al-Shire, Henry To'oTo'o, and then either insert Christian Harris, Jake Hansen, EJ Speed, or Jamal Hill. I think this is a great observation and an astute one for my guy, Jack Tripper 3's company. All right, John Garcia, Mr. Buddha, do you think the Texans will go with a split load running back, or will Chubb take most of the load? Pause. #Texans Today by Chat Sports. Chubb taking a load. Wow. I do think it is going to be a not split carry, but I think it'll be a somewhat running back by committee. But I think you'll see Nick Chubb take the first and second down reps. And then you'll see a third down back kind of rotate in. They'll put in a Gumbawale. They'll put in Pierce. They'll put in Woody Marks, depending on the situation. But I think it'll be a Nick Chubb gets 60% of the carries, and the other 40%, I think, are divvied out between the other 3 guys. You might even see Brooks in goal line packages. The bruising, running back, fullback, tight end, special teams ace. I think you'd see him in there too. But I would say Nick Chubb 60% of the carries, and then the other 40% you'll see doled out to Woody Marks, Agumbawale, Dameon Pierce, maybe even a little bit of British Brooks. That's all I have for you on this Texans Today mailbag. Make sure you join us. Week 1 matchup, Texans, Rams. Hey, you don't want to miss it whatsoever. Make sure you're here, and make sure you're here early. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications because we will be live for week 1. Bunch of giveaways, a ton of fun. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and join us all year long for all of our watch parties and our live Wednesday shows, just like this one that was filmed on Wednesday. We'll be live every Wednesday at 3:30 Central Time. Pow! Ow! 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 Here we go. Here we go. A full live show here. Woo! 4 segs. We got through it. And we still have more than 100 people watching. Hell yeah. I appreciate each and every single one of y'all for rocking and rolling on today's show. Had a great time. I didn't know what the turnout was going to be for our first live show of the year. Pretty good in my opinion. Pretty good. We're going to end it on this. If you want a chance to get in on the Nico Collins autograph picture, you can do it now, or don't worry. It's running all month long. We'll have the raffle at the end of the month for that one. And let's see. The top 3 XP getters. I'll put it in this doc. Top 3 XP for Sunday. Let's see. Evan McGinley. We have John Garcia and Condition Base. Y'all will get y'all will each get a free raffle ticket this Sunday. We're going to give away a CJ Stroud Funko Pop. So make sure you're there. Make sure you're tuned in for our week 1 watch party. Texans, Rams, Brandon Michael the Best on YouTube. Keep it up. Hey, that's what we do, baby. That's what we do. And I just, like I said, I appreciate everybody for stopping by today. If you were here for 5, 10, 20 minutes, it all means the same to me, and I appreciate it a ton for y'all just spending any amount of your day here on Texans Today. I know y'all have a lot of options to choose from for different media consumption, but coming here, that means a lot. I appreciate it a ton. And like I said, be ready. Weekly live shows every Wednesday, 3:30 Central Time. We will be repping right here on Texans Today. Weekly live shows as well for game days, just like we will this Sunday for Texans at Rams. It's a 3:30 kickoff, so we'll be live probably 30 minutes, an hour before kickoff, just depending on how everything works out with that. But we'll be here. We'll be here for every watch party. We'll be here for every game. Every Wednesday we'll be live here for you. From me, from Casey, this is Texans Today. This is our Texans Today live show. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Be here every Wednesday at 3:30 because it's going down here at Texans Today.